just seems like a huge afterthought. Something that maybe I couldn't really look after over time. Somewhere in there is a pump, a solar pump in fact, that used to pump water all the way to the top of this. The water used to trickle down and come out of that hole, and even that looks pretty gross. So now that I've shared a little bit of my shame, I've got a new vision for this pot. It's no longer going to be a pot pond. Whilst I still am going to have some small water feature that's going to be part of it, I'm actually going to turn it into a succulent pot, one that's overflowing and brimming with lots of different types of succulent shapes. It's going to have a nice rockery where the succulents are going to grow organically over time. So a couple of months ago, I actually made these really cool succulent plates, which kind of was a quick little build. I bought a couple of succulents just from my local plant shop, and I tried my hand at trying to decorate them in this kind of Japanese Zen style look to them. I just love how these succulents kind of flower over the rocks. These ones here are kind of background by this sharp pinnacle rock. And even the differences in the different textures looks kind of cool. Right, so while I'm building this rockery, the idea is to kind of use different shaped stones and pebbles to create a layered texture effect, going from smaller pebbles to medium-sized pebbles to really big feature stones. Haven't quite found any feature stones yet, so I'm gonna have to look for them maybe on Facebook Marketplace. But the idea is that I also want a kind of like a little bird bath right in the middle that I can still fill up with a little bit of water to kind of attract wildlife into my backyard. Here I've got a nice variety of different succulents. I've also got some leftover pond liner from my previous pond creations. This is definitely going to be interesting. So the first thing I've got to do is to dig up all this gunk, try and clean off the little solar pump that I've got, and start from scratch again. Now that I've cleaned out the pond and it's looking a lot better, I'm now going to fill it up with potting mix. I might even do a layer of gravel at the very bottom to kind of act like a reservoir for water that kind of seeps down into the base. And I'm also going to make it high on the edges and slightly shallow in the center, because that's where I kind of want my water feature to be, either using the ceramic dishes or using the pond liner that I have left over. Let's see how this is going to turn out. I'm a little bit worried, but the second pond in my backyard, I used to have this little bridge that used to go over the creek, which was this stone that I have right here on the ground. I've kind of removed it from my other pond because I kind of wanted the fish to have a little bit more sunlight there. But I was thinking maybe this rock could be a vertical rock feature in my succulent pot that I'm going to be building now. So I'm going to experiment with different orientations, and a good thing about doing this is testing what looks best, and all the different angles is a great way of just experimenting with what actually is pleasing to the eye. So I've kind of just created and molded a cool little channel. You can kind of see from the side perspective where the little creek might come out. I'm probably going to fill in the edges after I've laid out the lino, and then we'll see how this goes. Kind of has a river system feel about it. Just trying to incorporate this rock. I'm a little bit worried about this not being on. I'm worried about this being on top of the rock when maybe it should probably be underneath the rock. That way, if water does flow, it doesn't go behind the rock like that. I need to add in pebbles to hold down the liner so that it doesn't fold up or seep into the soil, because the soil does shift over time, so you need something really heavy to keep everything in place. Believe it or not, I'm going to reuse some of the rocks from my old rock pond, even though they look like this. All they need is a good wash. So at the moment, I'm really loving how all this is looking. I'm kind of making a little border using my white rocks. I'm being a little bit more denser towards the edge of the water, and I'm going to scatter those pebbles out a little bit more sparsely towards the edge of the actual pot. So that way it kind of has a gradient effect. I'm also going to find a couple of feature stones to feature in these two side bank areas, and we'll just see how it all comes together. Eventually, this pond liner here, you don't really want it showing, but you can put sphagnum moss in between and grow other plants that at the moment looking pretty good. I've just gone around my garden and tried to look for different stones that might go well in this rockery. Ooh, I love the shape of this stone. Now it's time to put in these plants. I notice how these sedum speckled blobs grow really nicely around this pond. So now I'm gonna use this to help create a cascading plant fall effect in this pot. These sedum speckled blobs are perfect for this pot because they love full sun, they love containers, and they only really need kind of a small amount of moisture in the soil to grow and cascade, and hopefully eventually they cascade over the edge of my pot. Really cool about this pond is that the water that I'm putting in the middle, I can use it to water the succulents on the edge just by simply using a small little bucket. Just looking at this pond now, I can't help but getting emotional at knowing what it looks like before to what it looks like now. I mean, it's not finished yet, but I just can't believe the transformation. Seriously, like my heart is just like melting here at how beautiful this pot has become. And just with a little TLC, a little bit of care, a little bit of nurturing, your garden could just be an amazing paradise. Adjusted a few more things, added a few more cool touches. Let's pretend it's raining a little bit. So it's about 8 months on, and I just wanted to give you an update on how the pot pond project is going. So good news and bad news. Good news is I actually got rid of the water feature because there were a lot of mosquitoes who were laying their larvae in there. So I actually took out the pond liner, and now it's just a strictly succulent based rockery, and I'm still trying to get it to grow out. It's taking a new shape and form. Here is what it looks like. I've gotten rid of the grass up here. This is hopefully going to cascade down later on. This has grown superbly well. I've got this kind of like urn that I got from the local department store, and I wanted to create this like cascading effect, which then would kind of simulate like water. So that's kind of like the effect I'm going for. Some of these have grown out, and I've still got my monolith structure, and there's no water feature anymore, but I'm trying to recreate that water effect by using some of the different succulents. Here's what it looks like now. So, what do you think, everybody? This is probably one of my most ambitious projects so far, and I just can't believe how well it's turned out. Obviously, there's a few more things I'd like to do with the succulent pot, maybe adding a few more small succulents in areas where there's probably a lot more rocks than I'd like. But overall, look at it. It's so amazing. I'm so proud of what I've been able to achieve in like a couple of hours, and it didn't really cost much at all. So if you're someone who's got a cool vision or idea about something you want to do in your garden, I say you should just do it, because you'll really actually surprise yourself at how good things can actually look. Now, if you really enjoyed this video and following this journey with me, then subscribe to my channel or check out my other videos on my main page. This is Danny Sania. I hope to see you again soon. Goodbye.